just different.
So, I am super excited about this episode because I have joining with me someone who inspired me to become a sex coach, actually. I'm not easily influenced, guys. A lot of people don't impress me. But I literally saw this beautiful soul on the 85 South show. And I was just intrigued with what she was saying, the messaging that she had. And from there, I was like, oh my God. I think I want to just like learn as much as I can about sex, and I want to teach other people because there's so much bad information out there. And I literally, because I had a podcast before I even became a sex coach, and it was super important for me to kind of reflect on myself and my own journey before I dived into anything in terms of like, communicating with people. So from there, of course, I got 2 different certifications to, again, just expand my knowledge of sex so that I can help people. And if anybody that listens to the show knows that the one thing I get excited about talking about is sex. Like, I get super excited. It doesn't matter the time of the day. I'm just like, oh my God, let's talk about sex. So I am super excited to have the beautiful Samia joining me from Sexual Essentials. She has Not Just Another Sex podcast that she dropped this year. Super excited for her for that. So yeah, I'm gonna just hand it over because I'm gonna fangirl out, and I don't even want to do that. I'm from Chicago, so I can't even do too much. But yes, like
episode. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Hi, you guys. I'm Samia. Yes, for you, Jody. I'm very proud of you. She has stayed on my ass. She said, you said if I come to Atlanta, you gonna be on my baby, you exactly.
And I'm here. And I'm here.
She's like, well, I have time before the show. I heard that.
Yes.
Congratulations to you.
Yes. So here's the thing. Whether or not we was doing this show at CD Winery, I was coming to Atlanta. I was going to make my way.
This lady is very persistent, and I love that. I mean,
you know what?
It's that.
I feel like it's that cusp energy because I'm a Scorpio Sagittarius cusp.
You think
so yeah, like because my Mercury is in Sagittarius, so I get a little like I get straight to the point.
You're a fire sign.
Yeah.
So that's like a fire communicator. Now,
exactly.
I'm an Aries sun, and I'm a Leo rising. So
I
have that Leo rising balances out my exuberant Aries side. So it's like normally. And how old are you?
32.
Okay, so I would say that maybe from like 22 to 26, I was more like loud and fiery, and now I'm more quiet and fiery. Like it's just I've definitely transitioned. Like so, parts of you definitely remind me of old me.
Yeah, so like definitely for me because I'm still a Scorpio sun. My moon is in Capricorn, but
Talk
with
that money, yo.
Always,
Talk
I
that
am
money.
when
She
I
said
tell
my emotion is pay me.
no, for real, like dead ass. Like if it don't make money, it don't make sense. So people would be like, "Oh, what do you need? Money?
Yeah.
Like, can we start a business? How can we? That's what makes me feel safe. Like, okay, cool. How we finna get to it? So for me, I'm very much a logistics person of numbers, money. Like that's where I'm like, nah, that gotta be situated. The emotions, we'll figure that shit out later. So I definitely feel like that comes through in my personality all the time, but then it damn near comes through in sex too. Because
Sagittarius, I know that Sagittarius. I don't have that experience. I have good experience with Sagittarius.
It's so funny because before you even say what your experience is with Sagittarius, because my Venus and my Mercury are in Sagittarius. So the way in which I communicate and the way in which I love are both in Sagittarius. And that is the one sign I refuse to date.
That's wild.
Because it's like for me, I'm like, do I really want to deal with that like, it's like, okay, I'm looking in the mirror. Do I want to deal with myself? A lot of people don't want to deal with themselves. So I'm
but
like,
as you grow and as you fall in love more and more with you, you'd be surprised, because I was definitely the same way. I was like that though about all fire signs, because I really thought that everybody was gonna be fire, and it's like, I don't want to hog the attention in the room, but also I'm aware that I'm louder and I'm this, I'm that,
right.
and things like that. And so I met a Sagittarius, and I was like, oh, she louder than me. I was like, okay, maybe this could work. Like, but we all different. But also I think that characteristic is just something that's needed in the unconventional working field, because like, if you don't have the tenacity to keep going and pushing and be persistent, you're not going to make it like in sex education. So
Facts.
yes, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me. Hey guys, I'm Samia.
Yes.
If a titty pop out, just use it for the views. All right.
Yes, of course.
But doing my part to help.
So because we both work in sex work, we are all about educating people, making sure they have the right information, the right resources. Everyone is having better sexual experiences, healthier sexual experiences.
Sure.
I guess I want to, give my listeners a kind of, quick synopsis of how you got here.
For sure.
So, like, what's your origin story?
What's my little elevator pitch?
Yes.
So I'm Samia. I'm the owner of Sexual Essentials. I'm the host of Not Just Another Sex Podcast. And I'm also the owner of this content house that we're shooting in. And the owner of SE Media Group, which is who's recording the episode as well. And all of this got started right after I had my son. I was 25, I think turning 26-ish, and I was put in this mom group. Her name is Devin, and she actually has a podcast called the Real Mama Pod. But I was the only person I knew that had a child. I was married at the time, and they added me to the mom group, and one day we were just talking, and basically there were so many moms in there that had never had an orgasm, and I just was so confused, because like, but your mom.
Right.
But you're a mom, so you fucking.
Right.
You have a present at the end of it. You have
right. Like, you got proof.
Yeah.
You got receipts.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay. So I started answering questions and just like talking to them about stuff like that. And then I just didn't want to, like I said, hog the group. And so I was like, hey, you guys, do you want me to make like a separate group chat? And they were like, yeah. So I put them in there. And through that, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just start a brand. But I'm just a very thorough person. So I was like, well, if I'm going to start a brand, I just thought about all the things that were wrong. I was like, first of all, they need to learn how to fuck. Then they need to hear stories from other people. And then they need to know about sex toys, because then they just going to go out and buy anything. And some of this stuff's so cheap.
Yes.
I said, and then, I need to be talking to people and doing classes so they can learn some skills. Right. So I was like, if I want to be a thorough sex brand.
Right.
And so I would stay up every night when the baby went to sleep and my husband went to sleep, and just like kind of like bulk do content. Back then it was like blogging and stuff like that. And through Sexual Essentials, I just really ended up, it was my avenue into healing. It was, everybody has their thing. Some people it's photography, some people it's sex, whatever it was. My avenue into finding self was through sex.
Yes.
And so I went, like you said, it that took me to 85 South, took me to Poor Minds, Essence Fest, so many amazing shows.
Right.
And then last year, what was last year? 2022. In 2022, I was financially free. So I was just traveling the world, Egypt, Dubai. Like, I bought a travel van, which was like a lifelong goal, to go across country and with my son, and different things like that. And I just was like, oh, I made it, right? And I was making enough residual income. I didn't have to necessarily work every day. Everything I had already done was making money itself.
Right.
And then I went on Know For Sure, which is B. Simone's show. And I made a comment about growing up in the household with a parent who's jealous of you and not really getting the proper love, because her husband and your dad is also molesting you. And so it went, I literally said like one sentence, and like everything went crazy, because I had never actually said anything about really my personal life. Like, I'd share my personal experiences with sex and things like that, but I had never really told how I got here.
Right.
Like, how somebody will post everything, but they're not really saying anything personal.
Right.
So I felt really free after that, and I was like, okay, the world didn't end. Like, yeah, my phone blew up all crazy, but I was like, okay, well now I'm just free. I got money and I'm free. I'm telling my truth, and then boom, my sexual essentials page got deleted. And it was difficult because I was in the middle of the second art exhibit, which is the live sex art show that I put on every year. And you know how difficult it is to sell out these events, especially in different cities.
When
and,
I tell you, literally, my IG page got snatched 2 days ago. Like, and our show is tomorrow, and I'm like, what?
It all works out one way or another. That's what I will tell you. And it's like that with a lot of sex pages. A lot of them will be deleted the week of the event. And things like that. But so I was nervous because that's like a $60,000 event. I had already paid for it. Like, so after that, I guess I used to say things kind of went downhill from there. But at that point, I had a decision to make, and I decided I was just going to, because I had to figure out how I was going to pivot, right? Because a lot of your sales goes based off social media, and you can have email lists set up, you can have multiple forms of contact set up, but you can't help where you go viral or what page hits. You can't help that. And so I was like, okay, well, how am I going to pivot and stay relevant and things like that? And it was like, you know what? It's time to start a podcast. And I had been against it because there were so many podcasts out. So it felt like the market
trendy,
was just oversaturated. And and I was like, well, I don't want to be like anybody else. And I just feel like God like really checked me. It was just like,
but you're not.
Ain't baby.
But you're not like any. Yes.
Original. All of us are different, and what's for me is for me. And so, but in doing so, again, I'm a very thorough person, and I think longevity. How can I make sure that I'm good regardless?
Right.
And so I knew I could not have my son every other week and travel for a podcast on those off weeks. I would never have a moment to myself.
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, I'll just get a space. I had already, before I did sex work, I did property management. I already own real estate, like for my son and things like that. So I was like, I'll just buy a studio, and then that way people can rent it out. That way I'll have my own space to record. I'll just get my own equipment.
Yes.
I hate having to rely on a lot of people because then you have more things that could possibly go wrong.
Exactly.
So I did that, and I was just supposed to get like a little studio, and then like get another little room and then pay for it within my budget and all these other things. Girl, I bought almost $1 million mansion.
You went big.
And I guess I did in retrospect, but it was just like when I saw this house, I did not plan to look at any other houses. Now the real estate agent, who's a friend, was like, "That's not smart." Somebody, I was like, you know what, you hella right. Set it up. Set up all 6 of them you want me to see. None of them were available except for this one. Like, we had appointments with all of them, but for some reason, we couldn't get in. Somebody didn't answer. Everything went wrong. This is the only one we were able to see. And then when we got here, they were like, "Oh, you saw that the price went down 30 grand. No, I didn't, but I'll take that."
Right.
And we picked up an acorn off the ground, and I was like, this is the one. And that bitch been giving me hell ever since. The ceiling fell in the week after I bought it, girl, and spent my life savings. But I spent every single dollar from Sexual Essentials and poured it back into something different, which was SE Media Group.
Right.
And that process was really just a reflection of me healing and just believing in myself. So just like Sexual Essentials was a confident booster, but it was also a crutch. It was never the end state for me. Making SE Content House, making SE Media Group was because I've seen so much extraordinary content not get the fair shot. The whole point of me making SE Media Group was because everybody was like, "Oh, we can't give you a grant. We can't give you a loan. We can't give you this," because of the name Sexual Essentials.
Yeah.
So everybody thought that it was like Sexual Essentials Content House, but it was something extraordinary, because at the end of the day, Sexual Essentials was something extraordinary, is something extraordinary. And there are so many different types of work that are unconventional that are extraordinary. And if people like you and me had the same support as people with the money, we would be giving people a run for their motherfucking money. And so I'm here for that.
Or not just that, if the people wasn't.
And I ain't even talking about them, because at the end of the day, it's a private conversation. I ain't
Right,
talking
yeah.
That's a giving.
Yeah.
Just like, even just in the internet, it's just so oversaturated with this content that's bullshit. It's people that are not qualified or either haven't put in the time, and it's not helping.
Yeah.
It's making men and women go against each other. It's not helping people heal. And so I realized I just had to tell the truth. And so I made a decision that if I started this podcast, I would tell the full truth and nothing but the fucking truth. And so I've been telling the truth just about how I've been raised, the fact that I not even just postpartum like with my son, but just Stockholm, having Stockholm. It wasn't until I was 26 years old that I confronted my parents, like, hey, we didn't handle this properly. Like, I was raised in a household where my mother knew my mom and my dad, like, they both did the stuff to make me biological parents. She knew he was molesting me, and at the end of the day, he was sick, and she's still with him to this day. And so through all of that, finding the strength to say, I choose me, it's changed my life, so.
Yeah, and it's like, here's the thing. Before even knowing your full story, there was literally something about you, something extraordinary about you that literally touched me just from me watching you on the 85 South show. I kid you not. Because literally for you to inspire me to want to know more and learn more so that I have the credentials to be able to help people, that was one thing. But then also it's like hearing your actual, background story. I've talked about this on PrHOEvocative before. I was molested by my stepdad. So he's in the house. And I, as a kid, would not speak on it because I'm like, and I feel guilty. Right. I feel like it's my fault. And I'm like, well, if I say something, then what about the other kids? I'm breaking up the family. And then when I finally said something, like years after it happened, when I was an adult, in a lot of ways, I kind of got blamed for even speaking up. So that, that's why people talk about, why wouldn't you say something? It's like, when I finally did say something, it was like, well, are you sure it happened? Maybe you were dreaming, and it's like.
Black people are too. Unless you tell somebody that a dick was stuck in you, they don't take it seriously. And even then, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
But like, it's almost like that question, like, what were you wearing type shit? Like, with the police. Like, when you tell, it's a trauma thing. And women have been protecting men for so long that anything that violates our safety, our comfort, or things like that, we turn on them. And I don't blame them. Like, I literally forgive everybody that was involved. But please understand, just because I forgive you does not mean that I'm not going to do what's right. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And at the end of the day, it's a reason that they go to jail. It's a reason that they pull the other children out the household. It's a reason that some of us don't believe in ourselves. Like, when your mother and your father don't choose you, they both choose to turn their back on you or choose themselves, you never believe that you're worth it. Yeah. And when you don't believe that you're worth it, you end up fucking people that aren't worth it.
And that's exactly where I was going with it. Yes.
Your scope of what's right and wrong is off because at the end of the day, now you're empathizing with the person who touched you, who is the the violator. You empathize with them. Yeah. And so that's where the Stockholm starts. And you don't want to break up your family. You don't want to do this. And you think that you're fine. But anybody relatively better than so basically anybody else in the world who doesn't molest you is better than your parents. So you always think that you're doing better when you're still dating in the fucking dumps.
Yeah, I totally agree. So like literally because of that situation, I started having sex at 14. I didn't care about sex. It was just like, all right, whatever, it's something to do. It was nothing special, nothing like, I'm just doing something. So literally, and I talked about this on PrHOEvocative before, I was having sex for like maybe 7 years before I had my first orgasm. Like, I'm just doing something.
It's
like,
plenty of people that
it's
got
like
the same stories.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just
that ain't been touched.
Right, exactly. So it's like, then I have that, but then it's like it wasn't until I want to say I turned like 29, 30 that I began to detach away from the guilt associated with sex. And then I was like, well, why am I having sex? Am I having sex for me? Like, I would always ask, well, why are you doing this? Yeah. And I wasn't asking those questions early on because I didn't feel secure enough in my own self. And I didn't realize like all that trauma that I was taking with me into all these different situations. And it played into the types of guys that I was, involved in. I was 14. I lost my virginity to a guy that was 18. 14 and 18, even though it's 4 years, that is a drastically different 4 years. It's a different, 14, 18, it's like, whoa. Yeah. But like it's not 21, 20, like 21, 25, okay.
But adolescence,
exactly.
Or late adolescence rather than exactly.
So it's, exactly. Like I'm in 8th grade, this is a senior in high school. That is drastic. Like I don't, like, I'm just like, all right, whatever.
I had that age gap.
Yeah. So it's like that, I resonate even further. And I know part of the reason that I started PrHOEvocative was because I was like, you know what? This is where I was. I used to feel ashamed. I used to not want to talk about what, like guys would ask me like, well, what do you like? And it would make me super uncomfortable because I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I genuinely do not know. And it's like this question makes me uncomfortable. And then if you press me on the issue of me being uncomfortable, now I'm like, now it's like, yeah, it's like
so much social anxiety.
Exactly. I'm like, oh my God, like, no, like so fast forward to me actually, unpacking that and then being able to heal. I'm like, I know I'm not the only person that deals with this. Like this shame, this stigma, this guilt associated with sex. So for me, like literally, I turned 30 and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna be a hoe. I'm just gonna try some shit out. But it was hoeing with intention. Yeah. So I was like, no, I want to intentionally choose myself. I want to do things for myself, because for me, that's why people don't like the hoes, because it's like, you're doing something that's unconventional, because that's really what it comes down to. So for me, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna figure out what I like. My whole phase started with masturbating. I literally masturbated for like 3 months. Like, I gotta figure out what I like, because I don't know.
Masturbation. I teach a whole
man, look, did you read my shirt?
Squirting. When in doubt, rub on out.
Like, I love it. I love it now, but it took me, I had to get to that point, because like guys would say like, oh, do you play with yourself? I'm like, no. Like, but now again, because I did the work on myself, now I'm of the mind where it's like, girl, if you don't play with yourself, why you think somebody else is? Like, you have to really explore what you like, so that you can be able to communicate that to someone else in a healthy and safe way, and also understand when someone is not doing what you like, and be able to have those conversations as well.
For sure.
So yeah, like, oh man, we just got a little deep. Let's kind of like
lighten it up.
Yeah, lighten it up a little bit. So y'all, both of us is switches. So I want to talk about that. So we both took the BDSM test, and I was looking at her results, and it's funny.
My business.
Yeah, because I be curious. So it's funny because I'm gonna just tell you my top 3 right now. So my top 1 is exhibitionist, 100% exhibitionist, 100% voyeur, and 100% switch, and then everything else like 98, 95. Like I'm still pretty high on like those skills, but I should have known for a while that I was into certain shit. And it's like, once I took this test, I was like, oh.
Confirming.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because like, even with me being a switch, I'm like, I don't want to be all things all the time, just in no situation. So it's like, of course, like people are like, are you a dom or a sub? I'm like, don't put me in a box.
I'm vanilla 1,000% of the time, generally. I don't live my life like trying to be someone else or be dedicated to a particular kink every day.
Right.
I'll try anything 3 times, and there's a lot of stuff that I want in my life forever. It doesn't necessarily mean that I want to do it every day. So like, people are always calling me unconventional, and I'm like, I get what you're saying, but I live such a conventional life. Like my views, I'm not conservative necessarily, but I am. Like a certain part of me loves Sunday dinner. Now, yes, my husband, my boyfriend, and my girlfriend may be at Sunday dinner, but it's still Sunday dinner. Like, yes, I love when people be half naked and things like that. But if you look at what I wear, I'm generally almost always covered. Not on purpose. It's my way of flirting with the world. Why? Because I got a fat ass and some nice ass titties. So everybody's expecting me to be half naked. And so I like the mental tease of being fully clothed, and the fact that you can't stop thinking the things that you're thinking, which means that it has nothing to do with me. Like that's my preferences have nothing to do with my beliefs. And so it's very the test is good. I like the BDSM test, but I tell people all the time I'm more vanilla than most of us are. I got a job. Like, I'm not walking around on my fucking knees all day. Like,
exactly.
I gotta go to Publix. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, the BDSM test is nice, and I take it like every few months, and it always changes just depending on what phase I'm in right now.
And I think that's super important too, because even irregardless of sex, we continue to change as we experience things in the world. Our views evolve. We might be like, oh, I didn't really think that, but now with this new experience, when you know better, you do better, right? And I know exactly. So I know for me, once it said 100% exhibitionist, I kind of leaned into it. Like, I was like, at first I would be like, oh, I'll let people watch these videos and, praise me for my good work. But now I'm like, now I want to masturbate in front of people. Like, literally after. Like, I'm like, how do I lean into this and just like spice it up a little more? So I know for me, it was like, it wasn't like a shocker, but it was more like, oh, okay, now I can kind of conceptualize what something is, as opposed to just saying like, oh, I just did something that I thought was freaky. Yeah. But it's like, no, actually,
you're going after your kink and exactly. The thing that clearly satisfies you.
Yeah, sure. Exactly. So for me, I feel like after doing that, I had even more, quality experiences, because I'm like, no, this is specifically what it was that I liked. And that kind of like, I feel like took things up a notch for me, because, yeah.
I'm very intentional about everything, honestly. Everything.
Yeah.
I ask every question. I leave no stone unturned. I'll apologize and say, hey, not even trying to bother. I said, but I need to say this. I've gotten better at just being myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just 1,000% of the time.
Yeah.
But my main focus right now is creating the poly life that I want.
I love that.
Is something that I am like super focused on, because I'm very aware that I don't think one person will ever be enough.
I just said that when I was on Amani's podcast. I said, I believe that, people want to weaponize monogamy in a way that they say like, oh, you have to find your person, right? But I'm like, our souls and we need different things. We need different things. And it just seems very overwhelming to only rely on one person to give you everything that you need. And I feel like it's okay. I look at, relationships and sex is like food. It's like, okay, today I might not want meat. Yeah. I genuinely just may not want meat today. And that is okay. But tomorrow I might want meat, some vegetables, some fruit. Like,
it's very ironic that you say meat.
Yeah.
I want some meat.
Right, like, might not want no meat today.
I resonate with that, but I'll give you another one. It's just like food, in the sense of there are some things that you can eat and there are some things that only your body can make. So you get a supplement. And so that's how I look at it.
That's what that was literally the verbiage that I used. I said, if you don't, like, how are you getting your protein? From what source? Like, you may say like, all right, cool, today I just needed some extra vitamins, and that's okay.
Yeah. And when I reference like just your body makes certain things that you need, I mean more so that all of us are polyamorous, because technically your first relationship has to be with yourself. So there are some people that consider themselves monogamous, and I'm not doubting that you are only meant to share your life with one other partner. I don't doubt that for you.
Right.
But a lot of monogamous couples are facing more challenges than polyamorous ones, but people are intentionally obtuse and they choose to focus on the crazy polyamorous stories.
Yes. That's the norm.
If y'all not in a polyamorous relationship too. You just don't know that he cheating, or you do know and you constantly forgive. But because we don't have this support, we have more support to forgive someone for cheating than we do for just figuring out another lifestyle that may work.
Yes.
And so for me, I've just noticed I'm a better partner when I fulfill myself first, because at the end of the day, it's still the 80-20 rule. You will never get 100% of what you need from anybody, from any other person, or from your child, from your husband, from your mother. So even if you take the sex parts out of everything, everybody sexualizes everything. If you take the romantic components out, people are still missing the core thing, which is intimacy, which is with yourself, which is with your other relationships, your friendships, with all those things. You don't have any other relationships outside your partner. You're obsessed. You're possessive with your partner.
Yes.
And those characteristics are going to push people away regardless.
Yes.
And so for me, I don't date anybody or not friends with anybody that I'm not going to say doesn't resonate as polyamorous, but they don't make their relationship with their self known. So it's just like, it's going to be an uphill battle, because at the end of the day, when I'm selfish about my time, you have to support it, because when I come to you, I'm only coming to you for the things I need from you.
Yep.
The things that you can't do, I'm not forcing you to do it. Like, so many couples are like, well, if you love me, you should try to do this and we should compromise.
Right. I don't compromise. I hate the word compromise.
I don't compromise.
Yes.
I will make sure that both of our boundaries are met.
Yes.
But if I do something for you, it's not for you. It's because I want to do something with you, and that's what you have decided for us to do.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I live a life where I only do what I want. And I know people are probably like, well, that's real frivolous. It's not. I might not want to do this budget, but I do know I want to be successful. I want to do this event. So in turn, yes, I do want to do this budget. But doing things for other people, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've wasted too much of my life, like, with a false sense of what really was going on. I don't have time. What I really learned was I needed more words. I needed more communication skills. I needed more patience. I needed more control over like my emotions. That's what I needed.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I didn't need all the other, you know what I'm saying?
I was talking with someone and I said like the possessiveness when it comes to monogamous relationships is very off-putting for me. Like I was in 2 long-term relationships, and what I realized was that part of the reason that I was rebelling from those was because it was so possessive. And I don't want to be in any situation while I feel like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble, or I'm, you know, this person is trying to control me. Like I want to feel like I am free to be me. We come up with what works for us.
What are our boundaries?
Exactly. And then this is what we agreed to. And then if somebody steps out of what we agreed to, then we can figure out what the next steps are from there. But getting into a relationship and assuming monogamy is crazy to me. I feel like we need to really have more of those conversations, because they're like, oh, well, I said I want to be with you. Well, okay, now let's talk about what that looks like. And we're not having those conversations about what that genuinely looks like. And then when somebody cheats or someone is like, oh, I'm interested in this other person, now all hell done broke loose because y'all trying to personal. Exactly, like everybody wants to, you know, assume that we are abiding by some standard of monogamy. And then also it's like our egos get way too involved in it. Like literally our egos will force us into a situation where now we're trying to control somebody. We're super possessive. And that's why people, oh, now I'm going to lie because I don't want to lose you, but I can't tell you the truth either because you've made it impossible to be honest with you. Yeah. So, yeah. And then also it's like, we talk about, I feel like a lot of people are talking about poly and they don't understand it as well because they're like, oh, I'm just going to be poly. It's like, no, that's not the answer to all of your problems either.
You're going to have a hell of an issue if you decide I'm going to do this instead because you can't stop cheating.
Exactly. It's like, if you can't, because you still have to be honest. Like, that's the thing. A lot of cheating is lying.
A lot of people, anytime you have to lie. And I think that that's the thing. People are lying to themselves. So it's so easy to lie to other people.
Yes.
So, and they don't know what they feel. They don't know what they feel, so they can't even tell you the truth.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. It's a wild world in which we live in. So I got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you are trying to create, you know, a poly lifestyle for yourself, and you're very intentional with that. What does that look like?
So I desire a main partner. As of right now, I want that to be a man. And then I know that I need a woman in my life. And I would like another man. So I am very couple leaning. Like I love couples. They're watching 2 people love each other and watching them have enough left over to love someone else is very healing for me. It's very healing because it's watching people do it right and do it honest. And then also it's just really good to see a healthy couple love on each other. So like I'm very attracted to couples that are very into each other. Like as soon as you make a side swipe comment and makes me think that your wife doesn't know, I'm immediately turned off. Because there is no way that you think that you're going to use me against another woman. That's right. One. But also too, I think just with my background and my parents, it's always good to see the love that I thought that I was seeing when I was younger, but it really wasn't. And so just seeing that now. So I know I want at least 3 partners in total, at least. But I'm flexible because I like to travel, and when life is like back in its norm and I have like the content house and everything like set up the exact way I want it and I'm back outside, I'm very flexible. So like I could have a partner that maybe I only see in one particular city, or I may have a partner that flies me out whenever they want to go on a trip or something. Like I'm open to possibly dating someone in the space that we work in now. I'm open to non-sexual relationships. I think that's one of my favorite parts of like being polyamorous is that there is no pressure for me to fuck anybody, because there are a lot of people that we feel very connected to, and it's not really the sex that made it so. Or either it might be someone that you like, damn, if the sex was better, I would so be with this person. But when you only have one partner, it's like, if I only get one,
now I have to settle.
I'm gonna pick the one that has everything. Or you're gonna balance it out. But I could just deal with someone for just that thing. Like I could just have a work husband. I could just have a, you know what I'm saying? Like things like that. But yeah, I'm very flexible. It depends on what my needs are, but I'm very open to every single one of my needs being met. And that also, I think, involves me like having a submissive, because there's a certain part of me that wants to be catered to without being so respectful, because it's really difficult. Like, I think that women get bitchy. Women get bitchy. They, you know what I'm saying? And so I've worked really hard to be a better communicator and not like take things out on people. But at the same time, sometimes you just don't want to be so damn polite.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you don't want to be so damn kind. Sometimes when I ask for something, I don't want to say please. Like, I don't even have the energy, and I don't want to offend anybody. So finding out that I could have a submissive, that you're telling me that their desire is to cater to a busy working woman who's making these stuff, like they love boss ass women, and that's just what they're attracted to. Now I'm not violating anyone's consent. I'm not being disrespectful to somebody. Now I have a positive outlet for the energy that I just don't have to communicate, but I still want so many things.
Yeah.
So now I have this understanding that could be set up with someone else, and it's like they don't mind doing certain things for me. And then when I have my energy back, now I can give them their rewards, and they just, you know what I mean? So finding somebody that feeds off of my, you know, my boss bitch vibes, and they don't mind like catering to that.
Yeah.
I'm with that shit. I'm with that shit.
I love that. I love that so much, because again, like as I continue to once I started to do the work on myself, I realized that I don't identify as non-monogamous. There's no way in hell that I can't identify as non-monogamous once I know myself better. Because again, I will go into these situations where it's like I'll be with one person and the sex is fire, and I don't want to give this up. And then I'm with someone else, and they are good on paper. Yeah. They take like anything I want. They're showing up for me in the ways that I need to be showed up. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm still going to go fuck this other person on Thursday, but I love you. Shit. Like,
and two things can be true.
Two things can be true. And I hate that people want to, make everything into a dichotomy when it's not. Like,
I honestly just stop discussing things with people that make it their business to just misunderstand me. Yeah. Because it's just like at the end of the day, from the outside looking in, we're going to both look like fools. Mm-hmm. And also my career, my life, my happiness, it speaks for itself. Mm-hmm. Talk to me once you catch your first nut. Yeah. Like, you can always tell someone that's not getting the right type of nuts, because once your pussy start doing the thing that it do, you'd be surprised at things that you were against that you start realizing make a lot of sense. You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad you brought that up. I can always tell. I'm so glad you brought that up, because again, like when you was on 85 South Show and I was watching you, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't think I ever had like sex the way it was supposed to be ahead. Like, I'm like, I think I've been prematurely busting this motherfucker open. Like, I don't no, my shit. Yeah, like I'm like, motherfucker. Like, even though it's like, okay, cool, we doing like 10 minutes of foreplay, but I'm like, no, my shit don't never be to the point of like throbbing. And I'm like, no, now I want to wait. Like, and I'm an edger too. Like, that's one of the other things that I learned, through masturbating. I'm like, I really like edging. Like, I like it real bad. Like, I be edging myself. I'm like, motherfuckers like, how long you been masturbating? I'm like, an hour. They like, how the fuck do you do that? I'm like, because I'm edging. Like, I like it real bad, because once I get there, it's like, oh my, yeah. And I like extreme stuff. Like, and we talked about this, like your personality kind of comes through and how you have sex. Like, I'm super theatrical. I'm dramatic. So I literally, like, when it comes, like one time, oh my God, one time somebody was like, I want to see you masturbate. I'm like, I don't know, because I think I might look a little retarded. And they like, wait, what? I'm like, they were like, what you be doing? I'm like, I be turning around like this. I'm like, wee. And they like, they're like, now, mind you, I will literally lay in my bed, because I'm short. I'm 5 feet. So, like, I'll lay, like, the way where it's like, all right, cool. It's just the top and bottom. And I'll, like, roll around in the bed. Like, I really do random shit when I'm by myself.
Many different things that you do. I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't never rolled around like a little bowling ball.
Yeah, no, I be wee.
But I know, like, there are so many different types of women that are, like, they'll rock on their hands, or
I masturbate on my stomach, too.
Yes, I've done it on my stomach. Every time I stand up, no matter what, it's like almost automatically squirt every time. Mm-hmm. On your pillow, you could put a pillow like between your legs, from the back, like, and then you stick your hand up here, so some weight makes you stretch. I'm getting to a size where I definitely got to stretch if I be in certain ways. So, But yeah, you gotta try different
One of my
shit.
other favorite things to do is, and I call it like the Trinity. Like I'll stick like a vibrator in my ass, and then I'll like stick one in my coochie, and then I'll still use like clitoral, like, and I'm like, yeah, that is like, whoa! I'm just like plug.
I do. I will say that I'll go through all the areas. Anything that can get something, it can get got.
Yes.
But I don't do vibrating butt plugs by myself. Just because it be giving me anxiety, because I'd be like, is everything okay back there? Like, they be moving so much, so it just feels so loose and free. And like, I don't need it to be too loose and too free. And so I would do like a little standstill. Butt plug, I'll do like the womanizer, because it'll go inside and it'll be on the clitoris. So it's like you can do all three, but you only need 2 toys.
Yeah,
so I like that. Like
facts.
Everything knocking together.
And I do have one toy where it's like, all right, cool. It has like the penetrator, and then it has like the suction. So like I'll put it, instead of putting it in forward, I put it in backwards, and then I'll use like my squirrel and my rose, and then it'll be like, all right, cool. Like
squirrel.
Yeah,
like it was a dance.
Man, no. And so I like the squirrel a little better than the rose.
Girl, the rose is not even in my top anything.
Yeah,
like it's a cute go-to. Yeah, so it's like it's a
it's just kind of like it's kind of like aggressive to me. Like
it's not necessarily aggressive. To me, it's just not the best. It's not the best. It's the one that, like we said, you can't help where you go viral or what goes viral.
Yeah,
and,
facts.
Things like that. But I'm just glad that a lot of people, it was an easy entryway to, masturbation for people. I guess less intimidating.
Yeah,
did not feel like, we was bringing out our King Kong toys and, things like that. So, I mean, I get it. I'm just glad that it's starting the conversation, getting the conversation started.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, man. But this has been amazing. I feel like we could, hell, between us two, we could talk about sex all day, but we don't got all day.
And we gotta go to this shout out.
Right. Like, we got City Winery tomorrow. By the time y'all hear this, we would have done the show already. But
when does this one come out?
So I'm gonna air this in like a couple weeks, because I literally have like,
look here.
Yeah.
We need to let them know about the art exhibit.
Yes, tell them about the art exhibit. I'll make sure it drops before the art exhibit for sure. Yes.
So y'all gotta come back to Atlanta.
Yes.
To do this.
Yes.
So the art exhibit is the live sex art show that we put on every single year. This year it is a 3-day experience. So on Friday we do not just another sex podcast, but we do a live audience recording. And then after that we're doing a Patreon live recording. Like on my Patreon, for Sexual Essentials, it's like 250 classes, videos, workshops, all that stuff. So we're doing a live recording of that, because we got demos and teaching and, on there. So we'll record that live on Saturday. We'll have like a cocktail hour, and then we'll head over to the event. And so the event is open bar, it's black tie. And it's a very luxury upscale event. And it's kink friendly. So, and beginner friendly, which is like rare, because a lot of times, you have to get vetted to go to these events. But it's very difficult if you have not been vetted to get to one or find out about one and it be decent. Right. So this is a beginner and kink-friendly event. A lot of names there. So like King Hef and Dash from Pure Intimacy. Yeah. Sir Marvelous and Siphon and Madam Gumbo.
You just reminded me to text Daddy Hef, because he told me, because we're going to do a demonstration. He was like, yeah, let me know what your boundaries are so I can know how to create our session. And I'm like, okay, I gotta text him back.
He's been on the podcast. Dash has been on the podcast. We have, who else? Black Porn Matters will be performing. So it'll be amazing. We have a cigar roller. Like, it's such a sexy ass event. And then on Sunday we're doing an adult field day. Last year we did a topless pool party. So this year we tell everybody pack their swimsuits. We'll let y'all know what we're doing that weekend.
Okay.
And then that night on Sunday we're gonna do one last happy hour, and then we're gonna head to the sex club. So
nice.
It's a 3-day experience, and then there'll be virtual tickets available too. So if people can't make it, but it's only once a year, and it's such a good time. And like just a lot of the things that you said, like about just being a beginner and finding yourself and things like that. It's a really great event for couples, for singles, and for people that are looking to discover, but also they can join like my Patreon like beforehand, and then learn about some of the things they're going to see and what they need to know to be prepared.
Right, so you're not like shocked.
Yes, because once you go, you're going to love it, and then guess what? You're going to be like, fuck, I got to wait till next year, because you know how like you go to sex club the first time and you're like, okay, if I had known, and then the next, you like, okay, next time I go,
Right.
I know what my plan gonna be.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so it's like that. So we're helping people get prepared, but it's just, it's such an amazing event. And
Yeah.
honestly, I made it because it was just like, I don't want to whip my pussy out in no room that look cheap. Like, and this ain't an event where y'all should be whipping y'all pussies out at all. We paid all the people that will be whipping out all the coochie.
Yeah.
So keep your coochie in your gown.
Yeah.
But just black tie. When is the last time, you got a chance to just throw on something like super nice, like not just your club dress, but like a long dress.
Super sexy.
With
yeah.
A little razzle dazzle on it.
Yeah.
These men's bust out these tuxes and just nice shoes and just really enjoy being an adult. Like we grew up because we wanted to drive and have sex. We were like, oh, I can't wait to be an adult.
Exactly.
I can't wait till I can drive, and I can't wait till I can do this. And we're not really doing it.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
I already, like I said, I'm a very thorough person, so I've handled all the details, and it's just gonna be so amazing.
Yeah,
so
and that's excited. Dope because people oftentimes ask me like, where the sex parties be at, and I'm like, like I can tell you, but I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know if you're gonna be a fit. Because a lot of times it's like you have to know the right people, and once you know you the right people, then you get invited to stuff like that. Like I was instantly.
And also, it's not a lot of. It's so difficult. Not only just being a creative, but being a sex work creative is just so much. It's like you're like the comedian of the creative worlds. Like it's the hardest for you because all the socials are blocking words. You're getting deleted all the time, and then. It's just all these stipulations. You can't sell stuff. You get taxed extra. Like there's so much, so many walls that we have to get behind. So, you guys make sure that you support her show. Make sure you go binge watch. Make sure you share her clips.
Yes.
Make sure if she has any paywalls or Patreon or whatever that you sign up for these things, even if you can't make it. Because at the end of the day, if you want to see more of it, this is our job.
Yes.
So. Make sure y'all continue to support Miss Jody. I'm very proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
You made it happen.
Yes.
That's literally it. That's the secret sauce. You continue to do it.
You
do what you want to do. So if you want to do something, then do it.
That part. I'm definitely doing what I want to do. And thank you just for. Again, you inspired me to dead ass go and become a sex coach. Because I'm like, I'm not going to be speaking on shit that I don't know. So I need to go educate myself. And from there, the rest is history. I hate that term. It's super fucking cliche, but it's valid.
You have the story. It started like... I appreciate you as well because it's real nostalgic just to hear somebody say like, oh, you encouraged me to do this. Girl, I'm just trying to survive. Like, like trying to figure out my life and just to know that like people are listening is doing something.
And you are impacting people for sure.
It definitely does something for my spirit. So I appreciate you for that.
All right, guys. So, of course, check out the lovely Samia. Not just another sex podcast, Sexual Essentials. I'm going to have her information in the show notes. And y'all know how to find me already. So on that note, we out.
Bye.